I didn't want to make this video, but something I discovered recently broke my heart. Too many people over 50 are quietly giving up on life. Not because they lack ability, not because they're broken, but because society convinced them their best days are behind them. And when the world stops believing in you, you start doubting yourself too. But here's the thing: if you clicked on this video, you haven't given up completely. That decision alone tells me something powerful about who you are. Before we dive deeper, I need you to do something. Drop the city you're watching from in the comments below. I want to see where the strongest minds are gathering today. And if something inside you is already stirring, hit that like button and subscribe, because what I'm about to share might become the most important message you hear this year. Let me ask you something that might sting a little. Have you ever looked around and felt like the world moved on without you? Your children are busy with their own lives. Your workplace doesn't seem to value your decades of wisdom anymore. Technology makes you feel like you're speaking a foreign language. Yet here's what nobody talks about: you carry more life experience, more resilience, and more hard-earned wisdom than most people half your age will ever possess. The problem isn't what you lack. The problem is that nobody reminds you of what you still have. I want to tell you about someone who proves my point. His name was Robert, a 67-year-old man from Ohio. He worked the same job for 32 years, showed up every day, did his best. Then one morning, they called him in and handed him a pink slip. No warning, just a handshake and silence. For 6 months, Robert barely left his house. The phone stopped ringing. Friends stopped checking in. He felt invisible, forgotten, like his 32 years of dedication meant nothing. But then something shifted. One day, he walked into the local library, grabbed a book on small-scale farming, and decided to try growing vegetables in his backyard. Not because he knew what he was doing, but because he needed to feel useful again. Today, Robert supplies fresh produce to half his town. He didn't do it for the money, though that's nice too. He did it because he wanted to matter again. And guess what? He does. Here's what gets me: you'll never see Robert's story on the evening news. The media doesn't celebrate ordinary people doing extraordinary things at 67. But that's exactly the kind of transformation I see happening every day with people just like you. The truth is, Robert's story could be your story too. You just haven't written that chapter yet. And that's exactly what we're going to change today. Here's a hard truth that nobody wants to discuss: age isn't what stops people from living fully. It's belief. Most people over 60 are still physically capable and mentally sharp. But emotionally? They're exhausted. Not from living, but from being told constantly that their life is winding down. Listen carefully to this: there is no retirement age for your mind. There's no expiration date stamped on your purpose. I've personally witnessed people in their 70s start businesses, write their first books, completely transform their health, and yes, even master new technology. Not because it was easy, but because they stopped accepting the lie that they were finished. The only thing that truly ends your potential is when you stop growing. When you stop becoming more than you were yesterday. So let me ask you this, and I want you to be brutally honest with yourself: what's something you've always wanted to do but told yourself it's too late for? Think about it right now. Write it down if you need to. Better yet, drop it in the comments section below. Let's turn this comment section into a declaration zone. If you're thinking, I'd love to go back to school, or start that small business, or finally learn that skill I've been putting off, don't overthink it. Because later in this video, I'm going to show you the exact framework people are using, even after 65, to build something meaningful again. But I'm not giving it to you yet. First, you need to understand why so many people feel trapped and how to break free from that prison. I want to say this gently, but clearly you may feel isolated, but you're not truly alone. Even if your phone doesn't ring as much anymore, even if people seem too busy to check in, there's something greater at work here. When I interview people who've completely turned their lives around after 60, almost all of them say the same thing. They started asking different questions. Not, what can I still do? But, what was I created to do? That shift in perspective, that's where everything begins to change. You might be wondering, okay, I hear what you're saying, but what does that actually look like for someone in my situation? What am I supposed to do with this energy you're talking about? That's exactly what we're going to explore next. Because motivation without direction is just noise. You need clarity. And once you have clarity, even the foggiest path ahead becomes walkable. Here's something that might surprise you if you're still watching this video right now: you're already ahead of most people your age. Why? Because you're still seeking. You're still open to growth. That's what separates people who stay stuck from those who break free completely. The difference isn't luck. It's not money. It's not even time. The difference is clarity about what comes next. So stay with me, because what I'm about to share might completely change how you see the next 20 years of your life. You don't need to catch up to a world that seems to have left you behind. You just need to wake up the part of you that's still very much alive inside. Let me ask you something, and I want you to really think about this. When was the last time you felt deeply clear about your purpose? Not just your daily routine or your responsibilities, but your actual purpose. That thing that makes you feel truly useful, important, alive. If it's been a while, you're definitely not alone. Here's what happens to most people over 50, and see if this sounds familiar. You wake up and the day feels exactly like yesterday. Same news, same routine, same people around you rushing through their busy lives. Your phone doesn't ring much anymore. And slowly, almost without noticing it, your mind starts to slow down. Not because you're getting older, but because it has nothing new to process. No challenges to solve. No growth to pursue. That's how people get truly stuck. It's not the body that gives up first. It's not even your schedule or circumstances. It's that your brain stops growing and your spirit stops expecting anything different. That's the real trap most people fall into. I once met a woman at an event in Arizona. Her name was Ellen, and she was 72. Quiet, reserved, almost apologetic for taking up space. She told me, "I've been invisible for so long that even at the grocery store, it feels like people walk right through me." But then Ellen started taking one online course. Just one. Gardening first, then pottery, then YouTube tutorials on glazing techniques. She began making pottery in her garage: bowls, cups, beautiful vases. Now she sells them at weekend farmers markets. She said something that stuck with me. "I didn't do it for money. I did it because I needed to feel new again. I needed to feel new again." That sentence from Ellen reveals everything. Because that's what being stuck really steals from us: the feeling of becoming something more. There's a belief that too many people carry in silence. If I didn't figure it out by now, I never will. And that, my friend, is a devastating lie. Some of history's greatest achievements came from people who didn't hit their stride until after 60. Colonel Sanders didn't launch KFC until he was 65. Laura Ingalls Wilder published her first Little House book in her 60s. Grandma Moses started painting in her 70s. They didn't miss their chance, they were getting ready the whole time. So what made the difference? They started. They moved forward even when the world wasn't watching or cheering them on. Here's a simple framework I want you to try, starting today. I call it the 3-step awakening process. First, ask yourself this question every morning. What can I learn today that makes me feel alive again? It could be a tutorial, a podcast, a book, a new hobby. Anything that feeds your curiosity. Second, schedule one disruption every week. Do something different. Rearrange your furniture. Visit a new place in town. Try cooking something you've never made before. New inputs create new pathways in your brain. Third, serve someone without being asked. Volunteer somewhere. Call someone who might be lonely. Write an encouraging letter. Purpose often returns when you shift focus from what you lack to what you can give. I want to know what's one thing you've always wanted to learn but never gave yourself permission to try? Drop it in the comments right now. You've made it this far, and that already tells me something powerful about your character. While most people click away or get distracted, you stayed. Why? Because something inside you knows there's still more ahead. And you're absolutely right. Now I want to share one of the biggest traps that people over 50 fall into, often without even realizing it. This is important because if you don't catch this pattern, you'll keep talking yourself out of a life that could still be remarkable. Here it is. Most people confuse comfort with peace. They think because life is quiet, that must mean it's peaceful. But quiet isn't always peace. Sometimes it's just numbness. Sometimes it's a life that stopped moving forward so nothing rocks the boat anymore. And over time, that stillness doesn't calm you, it deadens you. You stop trying new things. You stop learning. You stop believing anything different can happen. That's the mistake that feeds self-doubt, mistaking a small life for a safe one. Think about a lake. When it's perfectly still for too long, it looks peaceful from the shore. But if nothing flows in or out, the water becomes stagnant. It loses oxygen. Eventually, it can't support life anymore. That's what happens when people stop growing after 60. Not because they don't have time or talent, but because they've convinced themselves that movement is risky and stillness equals peace. But here's the truth: staying still when your soul wants to move is the slowest way to die inside. Let me ask you honestly, have you been calling your routine peace, when deep down you know it's just survival? If what I just said hit something inside you, I want you to know that you're not broken and you're not too late. You've just been stuck, and there's a big difference. The good news is this: you don't need to overhaul your entire life to feel alive again. You just need to start moving forward with purpose. Here's a tool that I've seen work again and again. I call it the 3M rule: your pathway out of stagnation. First M, move your body. Even just 10 minutes a day. Walking, stretching, gardening, dancing in your living room. Motion in your limbs signals motion in your life. Your body and mind are more connected than you realize. Second M, move your mind. Learn one new thing every week. It doesn't have to be complicated or career-related. How to grow tomatoes. How to send a digital photo. How to set up a simple online store. It's not about relevance, it's about reinvention. Third M, move toward others. Call someone who might need encouragement. Smile at a stranger. Volunteer at a local organization. Isolation is like fertilizer for doubt, but contribution, no matter how small, builds confidence. Let me tell you about Charles from Alabama. He spent years alone after retiring. No close friends nearby, no children around, and his wife had passed away. Every day looked exactly like the last one until he signed up to help third graders learn to read at a nearby school. He told me the first day terrified him. He felt completely irrelevant and out of place. But 3 weeks later, a little girl looked up at him and said, "Mr. Charles, I can read this whole page because of you." He said it was the first time in 12 years that he felt truly needed again. That one moment shattered years of self-doubt. I believe that breath isn't just given to us for survival. It's given to us to build something, to contribute something, to lift others up. And if you're still breathing today, that means your assignment isn't finished yet. Sometimes our greatest chapters don't begin until we stop asking, "What can I get from life?" and start asking, "What can I give with what I already know?" Now, remember what I promised you at the beginning of this video? I said there was a reason I almost didn't make it, but also a reason I absolutely had to. And right now, I want to give you the mindset shift that changed everything for the people I've watched go from feeling invisible to becoming indispensable. Here it is: the rest of your life doesn't have to be a reaction to your past. It can be a response to your future. Most people don't live from their future, they live trapped in their past. They say things like, "I already missed my chance," or "I used to be someone," or "It's too late now." But here's the truth that can set you free: your past is not your predictor. It's your preparation. Everything you've been through, every mistake, every regret, every moment of pain or disappointment wasn't wasted. It prepared you to become who you're meant to be right now. That's the shift. That's what 99% of people never see until it's too late. What if everything behind you wasn't a conclusion, but a curriculum? What if your most powerful years weren't about climbing higher, but about giving deeper? At some point, life stops being about what you can get and starts being about what you can give. And that's where everything opens up. A few months ago, I heard about Harold from Wisconsin. He was 71, retired, widowed, no children nearby, living on a small pension in a quiet house. One morning at a coffee shop, he saw a flyer. "Local teen center needs mentors." He didn't think he had much to offer, but something told him to show up. What started as one afternoon a week turned into dozens of kids calling him Grandpa Harold. He taught them basic budgeting, life skills, how to change a tire, how to believe in themselves. One teenager said, "He's the first man who ever told me I mattered." Harold didn't need more money, more comfort, or more time. He needed to feel useful again. And once he did, everything else came alive. I want to give you something practical you can do today, before life pulls you back into routine. Here's a 3-step clarity checkpoint. Write it down, reflect on it, share it with someone you trust. 1. What part of your life still excites you, even a little? A spark is all it takes to start a fire. 2. Who could benefit from something you already know? Your wisdom doesn't expire, it becomes more valuable with time. 3. What's one thing you can start doing this week that builds someone else up? Start small, but start. Movement creates momentum. Think of yourself like a tree in winter. The world sees bare branches, but underground, the roots are deeper than ever. When spring comes, that tree doesn't start over, it starts again, stronger than before. That's what I see in you. Not a life ending, but a life expanding. Not decline, but definition. So here's my final question. What will you do with what you've just heard? Will you go back to sleep, or will you wake something up inside? Will you keep waiting, or start writing the chapter that only you can write? Drop your answer in the comments. Don't wait, declare it. And if this message spoke to you, hit that like button and subscribe, because someone else needs to hear what you just heard. You're not too old, and you're not too late. You're capable of leaving behind something far greater than comfort. You can leave behind meaning. And that makes you more powerful than 99% of the world ever realizes.